That's a lot of baloney. He came around the corner, and he hit him twice. And he's responsible. He's responsible for his broken nose. He's responsible for all the medical bills, and he's responsible for pain and suffering. He's responsible for that.
I understand that.
What? You want to say something, sir?
Yes. Your Honor, when I received the phone call from my wife that the incident had taken place, I rushed home. During the time that my wife was filing a report, she had noticed that two of the young men that were at the scene were walking by snickering. And so I asked him to come here, and I asked him, I said, you know what, I want to know which one of you two were the one calling my wife out of her name. And they began to tell me that Joe is one of the kids in the neighborhood that he thinks he has to go for bad or whatnot. He has to prove something to himself. And that the girls that he accuses my son of making fun of, we have written testimonies from the young ladies. They warned Austin to run because they knew that Joe was going to go up to him and fight him for no reason at all. I asked the police officer to make sure his mother calls us. She wanted to know what happened, and she explained to me that, you know, it doesn't surprise her that her son, you know, might have did this, but she wanted to hear both sides of the story. She's well aware that Joe is one way with her and another way out in the neighborhood, and she can't understand why he acts that way because her other children, her other young boys, don't act that way.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 10-year-old Austin Saffel says neighbor 12-year-old Joel Jackson punched him in the face and broke his nose. Joel says he thought Austin was going to hit him first.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I spoke to her one time as Austin's mother. She informed me that she wants to hurry up and get the court situation over with. And I just hung up on her. I flat out hung up on her. You know, how are you going to call me and tell me that we need to hurry up and get this over with? Well, so would I, but I have to go to an ENT for my son's nose. His nose has to be broke now 2 times because he has a lump coming out of the side of his nose. You know, hello, this doesn't end for me just because I go to court.
So you have to do additional medical procedures other than the $2,059 that you've already spent.
Yes, it's $85 just for us to show our face into the ENT clinic.
Could you step up, please? I want to take a look at your nose. Where is it broken?
It's broke right down here, right in here.
Mm-hmm. You have any medical report in your file?
Yes, I do.
Can I see you step back to your folks, please? Do you have any other report with regard to the procedure for re-breaking his nose and resetting it?
I asked them what it will cost for Austin's nose. They said every nose varies. Some noses run $1,000, some runs $500. They just don't know until they see it.
Well, right now you have about $2,100 in out-of-pocket expenses just for his medical visits.
Yes, and I have no insurance because my husband got a better paying job, and his insurance doesn't even kick in for 90 days. So this is, every time I've went, it's self-pay, self-pay. I mean, we work for a living.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'm glad that you're working.
I agree with that.
I'm glad that you're working.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to have any of these expenses out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You had no right to hit him. Don't look up at the sky. You're just very, very lucky that they didn't pursue this matter in juvenile court because they probably wouldn't have put you away, but you would have had a record. How old are you?
12.
12. So you would have had a record at age 12. That's not very smart. How many brothers do you have?
2.
They ever been in jail?
No.
They nice boys?
Yes.
Good. So you have good examples at home. What happened to you?
Nothing.
Ever been suspended for fighting in school?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. How did I know that? How do you think I knew that?
I don't know.
Wasn't that a good question? Look, I'm only giving you your medical bills up until today, plus some additional costs that you incurred. But you may have to bring an additional suit once you have additional medical costs, because I can't anticipate what those medical bills are going to be. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. It covers your bills until today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't appreciate her cussing out my son the way she did.
When you see your child bleeding on a street and he's left there and you're just going to protect your child, I would say that sometimes you say things that just is not of you, but out of, you know, frustration and anger.
And now the next case.
All parties on Zavala versus Johnson. Step forward, please.
20-year-old salesperson Brooklyn Zavala is suing her sister-in-law, 23-year-old restaurant manager Tiana Johnson, for babysitting fees and damage to her vehicle.
Mrs. Zavala, the defendant is your sister-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you provided daycare services for your sister-in-law's children.
Yes.
Then she decided to move. You did provide childcare for a few days, for which you were not paid.
Correct.
And then on the day that your sister-in-law was moving, it is your claim that she damaged a car of yours.
True.
What was your arrangement with regard to the childcare?
I was to get paid $2.37 per hour.
How did you come
Per
to that
child.
figure?
Because that's what the state was allowing her to get. I was just to get the whole check from the Health and Welfare Office. I got a check for May, June, and July. And then in August, I watched them for 5 days.
Which 5 days in August?
2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Ms. Johnson, did you get a check from the state for those dates in August?
No, I did not.
Why?
Because they were taking me off that program at that time because I was moving.
When
She
did-
was supposed to get a check. I have record right here that it got sent back to Health and Welfare
Let me see.
from her caseworker.
My caseworker told me that I was not getting a check for that month.
So it was returned.
Right.
So she did not, you're not claiming that she got the money and just
Right.
didn't give it to you.
Right. I just didn't get paid.
Well, she's not going to pay you. You have to get your money from the state. That was your agreement.
They only pay a portion on that, so she would also have to pay on top of that.
Why? That wasn't your agreement.
Because
That wasn't your agreement, Ms. Zavala.
true.
Your agreement was that whatever money she received from the state, you would get.
Right.
And you never got any additional monies in the months that you did watch the children.
True.
Right? So why would you expect additional monies in August?
I estimated it from $2.37 for each child per hour.
Do you understand what
Yes,
I'm
I do.
saying to you?
I do.
I don't know what we're fighting about here for 5 days worth of daycare. If two people who are related to each other, except maybe the fight's about this damaged truck. So you want to tell me about the damaged truck?
Well, the morning of the 8th of August, we got a phone call saying we needed to come to Tiana's. Tiana had something to tell us. We were told she was leaving town because she was scared to death if her husband was going to kill her, which is her witness right now.
Go ahead.
Her brother and her also got in an argument, and because he was telling her that she shouldn't pick up and leave like that with 3 children.
I
Who
would
should she leave the
my
children with?
We were going to offer, or Sean and Christine, and then Delano and Amanda, which is also her brother and sister-in-law.
Okay. What happened when she left?
Well, we helped her pack, and a couple hours later, she just was leaving, wasn't watching where she was going, and backed into my car. She said sorry, didn't even get out of her van, and then left.
She was upset, I assume, right?
No, she was fine by then because we were just packing up and leaving. She was in a hurry to leave
Why do you think she was in a hurry?
because she had to meet with a couple people in Oregon that she was going with.
She said she had to leave because she was deathly afraid of her husband. You don't think that picking up and leaving and packing up very quickly and leaving with your 3 children, you're upset? I mean, I'm not giving...
That happened a month or 2 prior to her leaving. She was still going up and taking the kids up to his house
Because he's their father.
until 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's deathly afraid of him. These are the car estimates and pictures.
I also have a blue book value of the car as a trade-in and as retail value.
Well, you definitely hit her car.
She was parked at an angle right in my blind spot on a cul-de-sac, which you're supposed to be parked with the curve. She was parked straight out this way. And when I was backing out, I could not see her, and I hit her like this.
Okay. $900 worth of damage.
And the blue book value of the car as a trade-in is $375, and the retail value is $1,400. I think that's a large amount for damage. It's almost as much as the car is worth.
So what do you think the right thing to do is?
Actually, 4 days before she filed this suit, I had told my brother that I was going to give them some money. And she has not tried to contact me, tried to resolve anything, to even try to work out a payment or anything.
Well, what is everybody so mad about?
I think she's mad because I left and she was out of a job.
No, because I went and got a job 2 weeks later.
All I heard that day that I was leaving was, what about the check? What about the check? No, you know, I'm going to miss you or anything. It was all about the check, the money.
Wrong, because I was trying to talk her out of going. I was scared for the kids' welfare because the van wasn't going to make it to West Virginia.
Did it make it?
No. She left it on the side of a highway and with all of their belongings in it, pretty much.
No, I didn't. I
Where-
got the belongings there. My children were safe. My children were back safe.
Did the van die?
The transmission went out
How did you get to your final destination?
with the rest of the party that I was traveling with. We had 3 different cars going.
Where were you going? Just for my...
To West Virginia.
What?
I had some friends up there.
Who were the other
Go
people?
stay there. Some cousins, longtime friends of the family.
Well, were they going to live too? Mm-hmm. You just decided to all leave at the same time to go to West Virginia to live?
Right, there was a lot of circumstances following that.
Well, just give it to me in 30 seconds or less, would you?
Okay, they were deciding to leave, so I went over there. They offered me to go with them, so I decided, yeah, I would
Where
go.
were you all going? I mean, were you going to a farmhouse someplace? Where were you going to
No,
live?
no, I have a really good friend that lives up there, and she offered for me to stay with her.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed there a matter of 2 months.
And then where did you come?
I had to come back to the state of Idaho
Why?
for a custody hearing.
And then you reconciled with your husband?
Somewhat, yes.
What does somewhat mean?
We're working on the situation.
Do you live under the same roof?
No.
What?
Can I stand up?
Of course, if you want to speak.
Yeah, what I was told by his mother was that,
It's hearsay.
well, even he admitted it, she came back down for that custody hearing plus a battery hearing
Against him?
against him, and then they were still together during that whole issue. They came back and they're still together now, from what I heard.
I guess.
And the whole thing with the car is, when she was up in West Virginia, I talked to her, said, you need to start making some payments. And that was like almost a year went by and nothing happened.
You owe them $900 to fix their car. With regard to the money for your 5 days of babysitting, I suggest that you take that up with the state.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Rochelle Mayfield is suing her daughter's ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Salvador Ruiz, for wrecking her Hyundai Sonata while driving drunk.
Miss Mayfield, this is your daughter?
Yes.
And this used to be her boyfriend?
Yes.
Does she live at home?
Yes.
Who else lives at home?
My husband and my 2 granddaughters.
Her children?
Yes.
How old are her children?
One is 7 and one is 5.
Where's their father?
He is their father.
That would be you. So this is what this case is about, Mr. Ruiz. You borrowed Miss Mayfield's car. You got the car from your former girlfriend.
Yes.
You had an accident with the car. The car was damaged to a point where it cannot be driven. And Miss Mayfield would like you to pay for the car, right?
Yes.
And you said, don't look at me. She gave me permission to drive the car.
That's correct.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You think he's ready?
He's not ready.
You think he'll ever be ready?
We'll see.
How old are you, Mr. Ruiz?
23.
Did you and Miss Mayfield's daughter ever live together?
We lived on our own for a while prior to moving in with Rochelle and her husband. And shortly after the accident, due to disputes and conflicts, we decided that we would split up.
What kind of work do you do?
Install carpet.
How much money do you earn a year?
We get paid by the yard per job that we do.
Mr. Ruiz, you're supposed to know how much you earn a year, sir.
I don't always make the same every year.
How much did you make last year?
More or less about $25,000.
Is that what you reported on your tax returns?
No, I did not.
What did you report on your tax returns?
I did not do my tax returns.
Did you get a special dispensation from somebody not to file tax returns, Mr. Ruiz?
See, I'm a subcontractor, and
Subcontractors don't file tax returns? I have to check that out in the U.S. Code. I wonder what section of the U.S. Code it says that subcontractors don't file tax returns.
Whoever's in charge, whoever's our
he's never
boss,
gonna be ready.
they get the check, and then they have to split it up between, they then pay their workers, their subcontractors who they have working for them.
And I assume that you've been doing this work for the past several years, so you've never filed tax returns.
No, I haven't.
I knew it was going to get good. I knew. Everybody who works pays taxes. They file tax returns.
Right.
April 15th of every year, everybody scurries to the post office, signs their name, and puts a check in the mail. Sometimes you get a check back. The boss doesn't pay taxes. If you're an independent contractor, you pay your own taxes.
No, our supervisor, that's his duty to take care of, to file for, I think, quarterly taxes, he calls it, which we have to then pay, but then it's taken out from when we get paid from our checks.
Oh.
No, it's not an O. That's not an O. It's a duh. There's a difference between an O and a duh.
You said dough.
Mr. Ruiz, I assume that you've seen me on television before, sir.
From time to
Is that
time,
right?
yes, Your Honor.
Do you think I'm an intelligent person?
Yes, I think you are.
You wouldn't think that I would lie to you, right? And if you think that I wouldn't, maybe would lie to you, maybe because I may not like you for some reason, you don't think that he would lie to you, right?
I don't think that at all.
Tell him. What'd you tell him?
You have to pay taxes.
And you have to file tax returns, even if you don't owe any money. That way, when she takes you to court for support, she'll know exactly how much you're earning, right? All right, now, Mr. Ruiz, you want to explain to me, sir, before the IRS comes after you, why, sir, you don't owe Miss Mayfield the value of her car that you wrecked?
On the night of the accident, which was Sweetest Day.
Which is what?
Sweetest Day.
Sweetest?
Sweetest Day. Basically, we had a conversation about it earlier. It's probably been around about 30 years. Seemed to have just appeared maybe 9 years ago. We chalk it up as a Hallmark holiday.
Similar to Valentine's Day.
Right.
Myself and her daughter, Brandy, we had plans to go out that night. She blew me off to go out with her friends. Later that night, after she found out her friends blew her off to be with their boyfriends and whatnot, she told me, okay, well, now we can go out and, you know, do whatever you wanted to do. I was upset with the fact that she had blown me off to begin with. So I explained to her that, you know, I don't want to...
So you didn't explain to her. You said, I'm not going with you. And what did you do?
No, I did explain to her. I told her my reason as to why I didn't want to go with her anymore.
Right. I'm
And
not
pointed out the
second
fact
choice. I'm not second choice or third choice.
Right. I wanted her
Gotcha.
to know that.
Come on.
So I told her
Hurry
I was
up, the
going out by
IRS is
myself.
almost at your door.
I told her I was going to go out by myself. She said, okay, here's the keys, go ahead. I went out to a bar, I had a couple drinks.
When did you go out? At what time?
It was...
When did he go out? What time?
It had been around 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. What time did you get home?
A little bit before 12.
So you were gone for 3 hours.
Right.
And what bar did you go to for this 3 hours?
A bar and a restaurant called The Brat.
There with?
By myself.
So you weren't even talking to anybody?
No, well, the bartender.
Just the bartender.
That's, I mean, he was wondering
And then
why.
you had an accident coming home, and and your car went in the ditch.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm still waiting for the explanation, sir, of why you're not responsible for this accident after you had an evening of drinking and were driving somebody else's car.
Well, I was struck by another vehicle. That's what caused me to go onto the side of the road to the ditch. The car that struck me took off. I started to follow the vehicle. So after I realized I couldn't catch up to him, I proceeded to go back to their house. I explained to her...
Well, you get to a point why you're not responsible.
For one, I didn't cause the accident. After I went to go try to file the police reports, I found out the car didn't have insurance. And I attempted many times to file the police report to try to get some kind of outcome out of it.
How many times did you go and file the police report?
I never got to file the
How
police report.
many times did you try? You said you spent a lot of time trying.
I called more than 5 times. I had called the first...
Who did you call?
The sheriff's office.
You called at least 5 times.
Yes,
Should
and
have
they
called the
kept giving me the
IRS
runaround.
once. 4 times the police department, 1 time IRS. Where's the car now?
It's at my house.
You have what it'll take to fix it?
Yes, I do.
Let me see.
And pictures of the car.
What year car is it?
It's a 2001.
Why isn't it insured?
Unfortunately, at the time, my husband had received a speeding ticket. At the time, his vehicle insurance was coming due, and it went up about $900. So the insurance lapsed on my car.
You owe any money on this car?
Yes, I do. I still make monthly payments for it.
You're in big trouble. You don't live together anymore, or do you live together?
I live with my mother. I don't live with him anymore.
Where does he live?
In
Stand up.
Illinois.
Stand up. When was the last time you spent an evening with Mr. Ruiz?
Before he moved out.
Does he send you any money for the children?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not an answer.
No, he doesn't give me child support. He buys the girls stuff for school and then in clothes. I don't get like a regular amount a month.
Why not?
I don't ask for it. I just ask if I need something, I ask him for it.
That's not the way it works. He's supposed to pay money, cash money. He wants to buy his daughter's clothing. Terrific. That's what fathers do.
I know that's my mistake.
Has he ever been declared the father of these children in a court?
No, but he is the father.
I didn't ask you whether he is or not.
No.
Has the state ever paid any money towards these children's support?
No. I've worked for 7 years since my first daughter was born.
He's supposed to pay child support, and you're supposed to help your mother.
I do help my mother. I pay rent and I pay for...
If what you're telling me is you don't need Mr. Ruiz's money, then what I'm going to tell you is this. You open up 2 bank accounts in your children's names and say, I'm going to pay my mother the support for the house and for the gas and electric and food and everything else. I'm going to take Mr. Ruiz's money, I'm going to put it in the bank for their college. You would like your children to have a future?
Yes.
Well, get it from their father. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Pardon, Judge, excuse me, you may step out.
24-year-old Kimberly Forsyth is suing Charles Taylor for fraudulently representing himself as a divorce attorney. She is asking for the return of his fee.
Ms. Forsyth, it is your claim that the defendant fraudulently held himself out to be an attorney.
Yes, sir.
You gave him money in order to help you procure a divorce from your husband, and the papers were never properly filed, according to you. You want your money back.
Yep.
Mr. Taylor says that he never told you he was a lawyer. He was trying to help you out and do you a favor, and he did everything that he was supposed to do, and you're entitled to no money back. How did you meet him?
Actually, I had seen one of his signs posted up on a telephone pole.
Can I see it, please?
During the time, I was being evicted, so I originally contacted him to help me with an eviction.
Okay, just a second. Shh. Is this your sign, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. So you called him, and did he help you?
Yes. Yes, just as he promised. And shortly after that, I had contacted him to assist me in my divorce. And he said he could help me out. He did family law.
Did he have an office that you went to previously?
I never went to the office, no. He always came and met me places.
How much did you pay him the first time?
The first time, I believe it was $375.
For the eviction?
For the eviction, yes.
Now, when you called him and told him that you'd had a family law problem, did he indicate to you that he did that sort of work?
Yeah.
What did he say?
On the business card that I had, it listed family law as one of his services.
Do you have a copy of the business card?
I don't have the original business card that he gave me, but I do have a copy.
I'd like to see it.
And it does state attorney at law.
Where did you get this copy from?
On my contract, that address right there, when I went there looking for him when I was trying to get my money back, the leasing manager there, she gave me the copy of that business card. But that's the exact same business card that I had.
You recognize this card?
No, Your Honor, I don't. No.
Is this a copy of your contract, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And, Your Honor, I do have...
This says it is understood by all parties that Inland Valley Legal Service staff members are not practicing attorneys at law.
Yes. I read that after the fact, and then I saw his card, and I said, well, to myself...
No, you don't have his card. You have something that you claim somebody else gave
Exactly.
you, so you can throw that away. That's nonsense.
And Your Honor,
That's nonsense.
But I wanted to prove that he was also giving this business card to other people.
Listen to me. If you had the business card, that would be one thing.
I know.
But you don't.
I lost it.
And this is something that somebody else gave you.
Yes, ma'am.
and Your Honor, if I may...
You may not. I'm not finished yet. Now, so what you're telling me is you didn't read this before you signed it?
No, I did. And when I saw his business card that said attorney at law, I presumed, I know that is very wrong, but I presumed that he was the supervising attorney for Inland Valley Legal. And when I confronted him about what it says where his signature is at, the staff representative, why it didn't say attorney at law, he said it was a typographical error that his assistant made.
Your Honor, that's not true.
So, according to this, it says that you're signing on for these people, to paraphrase, to do all the paperwork for you, but they are not lawyers. You understand that they are not lawyers. They cannot represent you in court as lawyers. That you will be appearing pro se, which means yourself. Now, he was supposed to get papers together. Did he get the papers together for you?
He did, and he did not.
Just a second. Got the papers together for you.
Semi.
What do you mean semi? The only thing that wasn't done, according to what I read, was the fact that he prepared the papers for you for your divorce, but your husband is in prison. Is that right? And it is very difficult to serve someone in prison because you have to go through a whole process. You have to serve the warden of the prison, you have to serve the commissioner of corrections, all of that stuff. That's not something he was doing. That was something he told you to do. That's what he says.
No. That is something he told me to contact the prison, get the information where he needed to send it to, which I did. I told him that it needs to be sent to the litigation coordinator in the prison, and he sends me a proof of service by mail by the third time I went to court and said the first one didn't have the correct address on it, and the second one he had taken in there and wrote in there the rest of the information. And he said he was going to handle all of that for me.
Now I got it. So the problem was that the papers were never properly served on your husband.
Exactly.
And in order for you to be divorced, he has to be properly served.
Of course.
So now let us assume that if she didn't read these papers,
Okay.
that's her problem. That you've clearly made out in the papers that you are a staff representative, not the attorney in charge.
That's right.
She doesn't know how to read. That's not my problem. That's not your problem.
Exactly.
Okay. My problem is you undertook, and I believe her, to have these papers properly served on the defendant. You undertook to do that, at least on 2 separate occasions. What happened?
Well, by me not actually being an attorney during the divorce...
And I want you to understand something, sir. I'm smarter than she is. So if you're going to give me a lot of who shot John,
Oh, no, I'm going to make it very
to
brief.
annihilate you.
I'm going to make it very
I'm going to
brief.
annihilate you.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right? So
Yes.
don't try to smooth talk me like you can smooth talk them. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Right? I don't need anything from you, and I don't like you. Do you understand? Because I think that you take advantage of people.
Okay.
But let us see if you took advantage of this lady.
Okay.
Let's go. You tried to serve him once, and you had the wrong address, correct?
No, Your Honor.
Go.
When we went down to the court to file the documents for the divorce, I gave Miss Forsythe all of the copies of the documents in order for her to have her husband served because she informed me that he was incarcerated. I informed her that it would be impossible for me to serve him by him being incarcerated because the only person that would be able to go to the prison would be an actual attorney to see this man.
That's not true.
Well, that was my understanding.
Well, that's why you shouldn't be giving out legal advice, sir. That was your last mistake. That was your last mistake. That was legal advice that you just gave her without looking it up in the books. Because every jurisdiction has a provision for how prisoners are to be served. And you don't have to be his wife in order to serve him.
Exactly.
And you don't have to be his lawyer in order to serve him. That's what you have process service for, or you have proper service that can be done by mail. You may serve in person the commissioner of prisons. You may serve the warden of the prison. Do you understand, sir? So you
Yes,
gave
I
her legal advice. And by giving her legal advice, you practiced law without a license. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Wasn't that simple?
Yes.
Now you're going to give her back her money. How much money did she pay you?
I believe she paid me a total of $325.
How much money did you pay her?
$425, you have the receipts.
$425. $425. You have to give that back to her, sir, because by making that simple statement to her, here are the papers, you have to have him served because somebody has to go up there and serve him personally because I can't go up there. You gave her advice, and it was wrong advice. Just prepare the papers. That's what you're entitled to do.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $425.
Thank you.
Crystal Padilla claims the father of her child, James Kern, falsely accused her of abuse to Child Protective Services. She is suing for her attorney fees.
Ms. Padilla, this is your ex-husband. You've been divorced since when?
Our divorce was finalized in November of 2004.
And you have one child together?
Yes.
How old is that child?
He's now 5.
I'd like you to keep your voice up, Ms. Padilla, because I have difficulty hearing you. Not because there's anything terribly wrong with my hearing, but I know that you may be a little nervous. You're speaking softly. You have to speak up like me.
No problem.
Great. Make believe you're yelling at him.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Your lawsuit alleges that Mr. Kern filed false allegations against you with Child Protective Services, forcing you to hire an attorney. You want your attorney's fees back and the expenses that you incurred as a result of defending that litigation. Mr. Kern says he had legitimate concerns over his child, and that's why he made the report. Okay? Do you have other children?
One.
How old?
Same age. A little older by a few months.
Who does that child live with?
Her. I didn't know of his existence till long after he was born. It's quite a story.
Well, it's quite a story, but it has an age-old beginning.
They're 6 weeks apart.
Another 10.
And I assume you've done the appropriate DNA testing and everything else? Paternity testing?
Correct.
So that while you were married, you fathered another child. Is that right?
No, it was before I was married. Before her and I got married, her and I were together. She told me she had an abortion, so we never talked again. Me and her got back together. And then actually the day my son Cameron was born, I get another phone call from her saying, oh, guess what?
Do you see that child?
No.
So that there are no other siblings in your house?
No.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
They're 7 and 5.
The 7-year-old is not Mr. Kern's child?
No.
When did you and Mr. Kern separate?
In November of 2002.
So the baby was an infant. Is there any issue as far as custody at that time?
At that time, Mr. Kern left, and Cameron did stay with me. And when we did our divorce papers, we decided to do 50-50 custody. And up until this recent event, we did share 50-50 custody.
When you say 50-50 custody, how did that break down in the week?
We would alternate weeks. One week I would have 3 days, he would have 4. The next week I would have 4 days, he would have 3.
So that really required that you live in close proximity to each other.
At the time, I was in Riverside, California, and he was up in Apple Valley, so about an hour away.
So, Mr. Kern, you had your son half the time.
Correct.
But you, I assume, always knew that there would come a time when he went to school and you couldn't have that kind of an arrangement because you can't live an hour away from each other and still do that.
Correct. I offered to put him in private school, and she didn't want that. She lives in Colton.
Just a second. You offered to put him in private school near you.
Correct.
Well, she didn't want him to be at private school near you. Shh, Mr. Kern, because that would mean that she would lose her 50% of the custody time. Sure it would, because if he's in private school near you, of necessity, he has to spend 5 days a week at your house. In any event, she said, no, I want to put him to school where I am, right?
Correct.
She wanted the child to go to school in her location. You wanted the child to go to school in your location. And then the trouble began. So, Mr. Kern, why don't you tell me the timeline from there?
applying में आ गया फुल दुनिया किताब पास थे
बाइक नंबर दे kana 1 billion download
PUBG number işte pa online kim de online ko din to bal se ne ko 1 billion PUBG bu 500 million
प्रिपेयर काम दे 500 नागम किधर से दले 500
हमारा PUBG تا غنه رسیدا څوک چې یاد کړه پریپیر سره
یار ما هډر به شاسه کارټونانو غونته کې
یو رښتیا مال دغه سي کارټونانو PUBG کارټونانو کې ته خو دې ونه ما سترګې بوته
هغه دا انګونه زما په
هر چاته د سرکاري خبره و یا سیر بچ کا مونږ ته دې PUBG ده
کم یا سیرو
دې
پہلا دی پریپیر
کا سے کاو اگر هغه ټیم کې هم PUBG کا مونږ PUBG درکې پریپیر کړو और दी यूएसए टीम से इधर टीम सही है
यूएसए 12 बजे सर पे
ورځي من ته څو بجې اته به ساري
12 کم یو صحیح کس نه ته وخت 12 بجې دی
ولې ته دا ټیم څو بجې دی په دې ته 4 بجې نو ته به یو بجې خلک کومه باندې نشته نه یو څه اوسه په ویډ باندې ډیپند کوي مونږ په سٹارټینګ دا کنټینټ دیو मतलब क्या सर अपनी क्या नहीं बेला तो
माल तड़ेर दा घाट कसान दा गई एक चीज उम्मीदवार से गुड घाट कसान गुड लगा 40 साल
115 कसान पालू कुली पे कि 111 कसान ने दा दी यूएसडी जमा सर फ्रेंड दी पालू बैक एक देर करा करे अदा 14 15 में दा कसान निशना कसान
नूर को टोल लगा दा गम पालू
111 टोल मा पालू बैक में रखे
देर पालू कब पालू की सफर न कहता तो बच्चों आ वाया
او دوسي دا راځي دوسي مشه جونم راځي کوم زیاده
اورجل لګورم ته ما ته شی زور ته څور ولګم ته ما ته په واتس اپ راولېګم
رکه ګمړه وکسره کې لایډي خراب کړ زمانه خراب کړ دا اوس مخکې نه خراب کړ
چې دې شي سپاده مخکې خپل ډېر استعمال کوي
مخکې زمانه لایډي خراب کړو خبره
ما نه خنه دا ما ډېر وخت
ما کوم یې لګولې د ما
کم یو
وایټ ګاډي باډي به لګاو دا خیر نو اخ دا څنګه خلاص دی ماشین زده څنګه ځان کوي ته کنه
ته زمون سره هغه چې ما کوي
دا څه دی دا دا خړا استاد دې
دا څوک دی ګلاله هغه دې دی نو
قسم دې ځان نه ویلې
وران مې وای دې کوپلای
ته دې ویلې هغه دې کار کړه څه مسانه کوي دا خدا شاپونه چانس نه لپاره
هغه ځان
علي دې د سم دې کې دا کار کټینګ وکړه
یاره دا ګیم ډېر مخکینی هم دی
دا یو نیم کس کې که نه سم پکې دغه ایکسپرټ
دې باندې ما لایو هم لیدلی دی ښه لایو دی
شه हमारा बेल है कि स्ट्रीट को वो चलता हुआ है कंप्यूटर लगे 10-15-20 मिनट तक दगा लाइन के
ما ته اوس روانه کېدی دی که
دې باندې
هلته نه ویډیو کې خپل ریل ویډیو غواړي د ګیم په سره کوم نه دا پکې ورکوم خو نور هغه خیږي د تو اسکان
کله ورته دوه ځله بلوغ هم شاپ جوړوا کیږي هغه په شاپ
لاوي کې د دروغو پر
څو خو دا دي دواړه چرته ملاو باقي لکه یو مې څنګه په ګاډه سوزل مو یو ګنټه مې بچره کې ما غوړي چې دا یو د ګاډه بچو دي چې کله به یو د سبا پتا
دا کار
چې ولا بیرته رااله وي زما سره د ریپورت وي ټیک ټاک ولا رااله وارنینګ لا
دا ټول دا
دواړه شروع کړه دواړه ملاوي دا مطلب چې په خلکو لار څو ورولي کړه
دیو دا ګفټران په خاله دی په واتس اپ کې ټول ملاوي
په خپل ځای رامیان ملاوي ټول شي ګفټران ته خلک سره مين دا یو ګل پڅو دی
یو ګل یو کوان دی ګل آسان دی یو
آسان دی یو ډبل ټیپ نه ہوتا ही सफेद हमने
ड्रेस स्कोर होते
डबल टेप हो तो मां को खोल के बोलो तो उसको
गोल बांधे मतलब करें गोल बांधे कम को डबल टाइप नहीं पर गोल बांधे तो आगे डबल ओपन कीजिए
जी शर्ट
डबल چې هغه ته اوپن شي نو به دا غا سکور ډبل وي چې یو شی ورول هغه په ډبل